Hello everyone, I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm really grateful that you're listening, subscribing and commenting. I really appreciate your support. And in this one, I wanted to speak to you, as you can see from the title, 6 reasons why I think being an empath really sucks. Of course, no one actually, becomes an empath because they try. I don't think it's a learned trait, although perhaps a lot of people do say that it could be because you had to be so vigilant in your childhood that you became an empath. But I feel it's very genetic because I know that my mom is very, very empathic, and I know both my sister and I and my brother are very empathic because of that. Obviously, that's just one case study, so it doesn't really matter. But I believe that empathy is a genetic trait. You're just given the empathy skill, and then what? What are you supposed to do with it? So it is a great skill to have. Yes, I'm not gonna say, well, it's completely a disastrous skill. Of course, there's lots of good to it. You can understand people better, you can learn more things about them, you can connect with people better, blah, blah, blah. But this video is about why I don't like being an empath sometimes when I am extremely annoyed by this skill. The first reason, as you can imagine, if you're an empath, this is going to be the first reason, and the most important reason is that it is draining. It is debilitating. It is exhausting. It is tiring to be an empath. Yes, there's lots of good that comes out of it, but it can be extremely exhausting to constantly be feeling the emotions, feelings, and all of the different characteristics and personalities of everyone around you. Especially if you're from a big family and there's lots of people around you all the time. For example, if you live in a family where all of the different segments live together in one house, which is very common in certain parts of the world, then you're just extremely exhausted all the time because there's lots of different emotions coming at you from all different directions, and you're not sure where it's coming from. And that's what's one of the reasons why I also find it very annoying, is it's confusing. So you have all these emotions coming at you and you're like, well, is it my emotion? Is it someone else's emotion? You don't know what you're actually feeling at times, which can be so annoying as an empath because you're like, well, I feel really sad today all of a sudden. I was feeling great yesterday. Everything is the same today, but I am just feeling extremely sad today and I have no idea why. Probably it's because someone in your vicinity or someone you came into contact with even briefly, because that brief contact can also result in you picking up on that emotion, be like, oh, this person has this emotion, I'm gonna just grab onto it. And so you're feeling that emotion from someone else's vicinity. Someone else was feeling really sad, they were depressed, they had anxiety, they had something going on with them, and you picked up on it and you just latched onto it, and now you're going to feel sad for the rest of the day. Especially if you are an empath who doesn't understand yourself that well, you'll be thinking to yourself, oh my god, I'm so sad today, there must be something terrible going on with me. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll figure it out. The problem is you don't think, well, no, that's not my emotion, it's someone else's emotion, so I should let it go for a run, go for a walk, read a good book or something to get rid of it, because it's not my emotion. There is nothing sad going on in my life at this moment in time, right? So it can be extremely confusing. On top of being extremely debilitating and exhausting, you're just walking around in a haze, tired from everything that's going on, and you're confused all the time because you're like, well, I don't know if it's my emotion, someone else. On top of all of that, what results because of all of this, I think, is that it makes you more introverted, because you're sitting there thinking, hey, I'm tired. I am so tired of being around people who are so emotional all the time, or are feeling emotions as humans do. And I just want to be on my own. I just want to be in my little corner in my room. I don't want to be surrounded by people. I don't want to look at them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to even be in their vicinity. I don't want to even be in the same room or in the room next to them. I want to be in a faraway corner in the middle of the world. If we could just go into a cave and just hide there for a bit, we would really like that. But a lot of us can't. Maybe we have a room that we can go into. So a lot of us end up being introverted a lot of the times because we do not want to go out there and feel the emotions of the people around us. The problem is that certain times it's okay, but recently, as time is passing by, with all the pandemics, with all the deaths, with all the environmental destruction, all of the sadness, all of the terrible things that are happening in the world, the emotional level of the world in general is ballooning up. It's becoming more and more emotions, more and more negative emotions in the world, more and more positive emotions as well, but a lot of emotions just reverberating around in the atmosphere around you. And so as an empath, you're like, well, it's not a good time to be an empath. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on and you're latching onto it and you're holding on to it. And so a lot of empaths you will notice, will need a lot more time in their space, in their room, by themselves to process their emotions, to let go of them, and then to come back to center. Now, some people can do it faster than others. Some people cannot. For me, when I was younger, it took me forever to recenter myself because I didn't know how to do it. As I get older, I'm learning new and more techniques to do it. I've done many videos on this, on how I center myself. So go check those videos out. But I can do more if you have questions about it. But it's very important to recenter yourself as soon as possible and then get back into the world, right? Because there is a reason why you're an empath, right? There is a responsibility or a role that you're playing in the world. We won't like that. We don't like that. We don't want to be playing that role. You know, we kind of thrusted this role and we're like, oh, but I don't want it. But, you know, you have that role. You're out there to, yes, take on the emotions of people and scrub it out of them so they can move on with their day. A lot of that happens all the time to me. You're there to kind of take on the emotional burden of this planet, and so the planet can move on and upwards. And so there's a responsibility to being an empath, and so you can't just be hiding in your room all the time. Unfortunately, I wish I could. I really want to, but you can't. You have to go out in the world and kind of, you know, do your job. But yes, we do end up spending a lot of time being introverts because we have to process the emotion. And when you're younger and less able to, you know, less skillful in recentering yourself, you know, you just don't have enough experience with that, it'll take you longer. You can be more of an introvert. As I get older, yes, I'm an introvert, but I know how to scrub myself out of all these emotions. And so I can spend a lot of time with people and then come back to my space and take a few hours and be recentered in myself. Like, you know, just sitting in my room reading my book, and then eventually I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what, actually I think I can go back out again. I don't want to. It doesn't mean that I'm very extroverted. Absolutely not. But I can go out in the world again without feeling like I'm going to die. Because at points in time when I was younger, I would feel so drained that I was like, I just don't think I can even move a freaking limb. I was so tired. I was so exhausted from all the emotions around me. Of course, you know, it happens depending on your family as well. You know, your family might be going through something, you know, someone died or something terrible happened. And so you're dealing with that emotion as well. So as an empath, you have ebbs and flows. That, of course, plays a role in it as well. And then one of the other reasons why I really despise being an empath is because it's a thankless job. No one actually thanks you for being an empath, right? I mean, like, yeah, maybe occasionally you'll get people to say, oh, you know what, I just love talking to you. You make me feel so much better. I'm sure as an empath you get that a lot. You're like, oh, people come up to you all the time and say, yeah, just being around you making me feel so good. Or, yeah, just talking to you for a bit and I just feel cleansed. I feel scrubbed of my negativity. I just feel so good right now. And I'm like, yeah, well, you feel good, but what do you think is happening to all the emotion? Energy cannot be destroyed. It is going somewhere. And where is it going? To me. As an empath, I'm taking it on. Of course, that is one of the roles, as I said, responsibilities we have, but it doesn't mean that it's a nice responsibility. It's a responsibility that we like. It can be a thankless job at times because people, when they find an empath, when they find someone who can take on their emotions, you know, they just want to talk to that person all the time. They want to be around them all the time. They want to give their emotions to them all the time. And what happens is that you never get a break unless you ask for a break. And a lot of times they'll feel angry or they'll feel upset with you because they're like, well, but, you know, like, I like being around you. Why don't you like being around me? You don't like me, blah, blah, blah. And they'll make you feel bad for wanting to be alone, for wanting to recharge yourself, because they don't understand. You know, you need to do that, otherwise you're going to die. Because, again, like, it's not like just the emotions are just hanging out for a bit and then going away. A lot of these emotions, if they're extremely strong, they can stick to you for a long period of time, and they can even degrade you, which is another reason why I don't like being an empath, is because it can actually lead to illness. It can actually lead you to becoming sick in a way. And a lot of empaths have to really be careful, especially ones who are working with energy all the time, Reiki healers, massage therapists, you know, people who are constantly working with bodies and emotions. They always tell me they have to be so careful about cleaning themselves out of these emotions every single time, because they're constantly working with people one after another. And it's emotion after emotion after emotion. If they kept all of this on themselves, can you imagine what would happen to their body? Our minds and bodies are connected. This psychokinesis or psychosomatic connection can really result in illness, right? So that's, again, another reason that you have to be so careful as an empath. That, again, it depends on how good you are about cleansing yourself. Unfortunately, as I said, some emotions are very powerful. It's coming from sociopaths, coming from psychopaths. I'm coming from people who are really, really powerful in their energy latching onto you. And so you have to be extremely careful about the people you're associated with as well. Yes, you have a responsibility to help the emotional burden of this planet, but not to the detriment of your own health. You have to take care of yourself first. Put yourself first, put your oxygen mask on first before you help everyone else. Otherwise, you're going to die. And then what's the point? You're not going to be able to help anyone anyways. And so that is another reason why, you have to be really careful. You do not get ill because of your empathic skills. It is a skill. It is something that should be used. It is something that should not be abused. And it is something that should be used in moderation. You should not be using your empathic skill all the time. It is possible to turn it down or turn it off a little bit. And I've done a video on this. If you want more information, I can do another video. But I'm sure you've noticed as well, you can turn it down a bit. It's not very natural to an empath to turn down their empathic skill, of course, but it is possible. The last reason is that, for me, one of the biggest reasons why I do not like being an empath, or did not like it, is because a lot of energy goes into being an empath. A lot of your psychological energy, your mental energy, your physical energy, all of the energy that you have in your body, your spiritual energy, is going towards being an empath. And so you have less energy for your own work, which means that what? What are you supposed to do? If you're a creative person, it's very difficult to be an empath and be creative. Of course, empathy helps your creative work because it gives you the emotions and feelings to create beautiful things. It can also take away from it, A lot of your creativity can be drained if you're being an empath and you're, using that role and you're helping someone, and then afterwards you're like, oh my God, I can't think of a single creative thing I can do right now. I just want to sit there and lie there and stare off into space. And a lot of times I would do that. Instead of going and writing my stories or being creative in whatever way I like, I would just be sitting there and I would stare off into space, or I would read other people's work. But it's okay to do that for a little bit of time, but as creative people, we need to create. I need to create. And if I'm not creating, I feel stifled. And so what happens is that I have to kind of choose sometimes between empathy and creativity. Sometimes you can work together with it if when you're working as an empath and the energy that's coming towards you is good and pure, and you can use it for your creative work. And sometimes even the sad emotions you can use for your creative work. But eventually the empathic work is going to drain you so much that you can't do your creative work. And so that's going to be very, very difficult if you're a creative person who needs to do this to live, not even for work, but like you need to be creative to be alive. And so I would find myself being so drained that I sometimes feel like I just hate being an empath. I would constantly be saying that. Of course, I was able to learn how to, do my creative work and then kind of balance it out a bit. But of course, that, as I said, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes experience, it takes time. And as you get older, you'll get better at it. Okay, so these are the 6 reasons. It's exhausting, debilitating, draining. It's a thankless job. It means less energy for your work. It's confusing. It can cause illness, and it results in more introverted behavior. So these are the 6 reasons I wrote down. Of course, these are the reasons I don't like being an empath. I'm sure there's other reasons for it that you like it or don't like it. Maybe I'll do a video on why I like being an empath. Although I should say that, there's lots of reasons I like being an empath, but I am very happy that I'll be able to control my empathic skills now and do less of it, really. I'd love to hear your comments, obviously. If you're an empath, I'm pretty sure if you're on my channel, you're an empath in some sort of way. I'd love to hear what your reasons are for you loving it, being an empath, or hating it, or disliking it, whatever it might be. Please share your comments with me. I love hearing from all of you. And again, I'm so grateful for all of you. I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.